Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we have got another databank download double bill looking at the entire contents of the Bad Batch box coming out for Star Wars Shatterpoint. And before we get into these guys here in Crosshair, Echo and Tech, we're going to start off by looking at these guys, Hunter, Wrecker and Omega as well. So obviously these guys made famous from the Bad Batch Disney Plus TV show, which is getting really good now. We're getting to the end of season 3 and it's definitely moved on a bit in the last 2 seasons. Now it's actually really good. So if you haven't checked it out, I do recommend you go and check it out. But let's jump straight into things here. So we've got our models here. So we know that we've got Hunter here on the right, and we've got Omega and Wrecker here on the left, and we know that Omega and Wrecker are going to be a secondary unit for these guys as well, with Hunter then being the primary. I think we've seen all of the helmets are interchangeable and interposable, so you can either make them with helmets on or helmets off. And I'm personally hoping that I can try and magnetize Omega to the base, so I can take Omega off if I kind of want to run the Bad Batch almost from the Bad Batch TV series, so when they are properly in the Clone Wars, even though Omega's, obviously the card will still be in the play, but it'll just look a bit cooler than having, I think, Omega on the base as well. But we've got some lovely little tactical terrain here. So we've got Hunter jumping over the whatever it is, security panel or something like that. I think he might be quite cool to build with his helmet off, so that we get the whole Solid Snake vibes from the headband and the face tattoos and stuff like that. Wrecker, I'm definitely going to build with his helmet on. I just think that helmet itself looks really cool. So let's get straight into things. We've got some normal backgrounds feel, but we have got Clone Sergeant Hunter here, so CT9901. And we've got our first clone primary unit that we'll get onto just in a little bit. But before that, he is 8 squad points. And he is covering 2 areas. So he is from, I think it's called the Reign of the Jedi, or the Fall of the Jedi, and the Age of the Empire, or something like that. I'm just going to double check that quickly. And ta-da, with the magic of video editing on back. So yeah, it's Fall of the Jedi and Reign of the Empire as well. So they are the era that you can take Hunter from. He's bringing 3 squad points with him as well. I'm on the wrong page, there we go. 3 squad points with him as well. Let's start all of that stuff again. He is 8 squad points and bringing 3 force with him. There we go. Let's just get that one right. That's because I've done some stuff away from the screen and then come back to have a look at it. I've lost my flow a little bit. So yeah, nothing too crazy about this side here. And we get into his unit card here. So first of all, he has got the tags of Bad Batch, Clone Trooper, Galactic Republic and Scoundrel. And he's also a stamina of 9, a durability of 3. And look at that, we have got 1 of every ability. So we've got a tactics ability, an active, reactive, innate, and an identity ability as well. So right off the bat here, it's our first Clone Trooper primary. So all of those really cool things that we see, things like Captain Rex do and some of the Jedi do, that affect Clone Troopers. Hunter is going to be affected by it as well. And we'll see that throughout his card here, Clone Troopers get benefits from him as well. So this is one step closer to running that all-clone team. The only thing that we are then going to be missing is another Clone Trooper primary. Otherwise, we could take an entire clone squad, which is very, very cool. But let's start off there, getting in straight into that tactics ability there. So we prefer going to them. So at the start of this unit's activation, choose another allied Clone Trooper unit. 1 character in the chosen unit may dash. If the chosen unit is a Bad Batch, that character may instead advance. So lots of movement coming up here. Obviously, you're going to give Bad Batch that ability wherever possible to get that advance out, but you might just want to go to any Clone Trooper, get that free dash off, either moving out of an engagement range or moving towards an objective, something like that, which is, it could be quite cool. We've then got that active ability, striking distance, costing 1 force. 1 character in this unit may dash, and then they make a 5 dice melee attack. So I like this. This is one of those few ways that a character is going to be able to make more than 1 attack in their same activation. So we've got things like this on droids and stuff like that. I do think this is interesting. This is a melee attack. And we'll see when we get into Hunter's order cards and stance cards that we'll see that His melee attack is a bit of a absolute handful as well. We've then got that reactive ability of Enhanced Tracker. So, when an enemy primary unit makes a move action, after all moves have been resolved, this unit may use this ability. One character in this unit may dash toward a character in that enemy unit. This is very nice. This is a very nice way of getting lots of free movement around the table, particularly when it's not your turn. So if you're, you're going to engage an enemy that is potentially going to be controlling an objective, or you know that actually you're not going to go with Hunter, but if Hunter does get this free move off, they're going to then be controlling an objective when it comes to the end of your turn or something like that. It's something that you're going to probably want to use quite a lot. I think it's just important to remember this is obviously going to happen in the enemy's turn or your opponent's turn. So it's something just to keep an eye on and make sure that you make the most out of it and don't kind of ignore it or sleep on it or anything like that. And we've got that innate ability. It's hard to compete with a Jedi. When a character in this unit defends against an attack, it may reroll up to 2 of its failure results. If this unit has the exposed condition, it may instead reroll all of its failure results. Very, very cool. Very strong. Some inbuilt defensive stuff. We'll get into his defensive tech in a little bit, but yeah, the ability to reroll 2 of your dice, that's probably going to be a third of his dice. He's potentially got the ability to reroll, particularly if he gets that fail. Particularly with how swingy Shatterpoint can be, you can get, 1 block, 1 expertise, and 4 fails quite easily. And the ability to reroll 2 of them is very cool. And then obviously, if he's given the exposed, he can reroll all of them instead, which is very, very nice. And then finally, there we've got that identity ability, the leader of the batch. So when an allied clone trooper makes an attack as part of a combat action, it may change 1 failure to a hit. If the character is a bad batch, it may instead change 1 failure to a hit or an expertise, which is very cool. And we're going to get into that as we go along through the 5 characters that we're going to look at today. That expertise could be something that becomes quite strong. Again, this is going to affect all clone troopers, not just bad batch characters. Although bad batch potentially get a little bit of a bonus, and it's not limited to range either. So this is your entire clone trooper army on the table. If you're rolling 7, probably anywhere between 6 and 9 dice with your clones when they fire or make a melee attack, the reality is you're probably getting at least 1 fail. I think that's pretty much the odds, is that you're going to get almost 1 fail all the time. And just the ability to change that to a free hit, it's just going to give you that extra help when you need to go and attack something. So Hunter is going to be very, very cool when he comes out. So we've just got all that normal spiel here about what stuff can happen. And then we've got his order cards here. So this page here. So we've got his 2 stance cards. One here, which is Huntsman, which is probably his more ranged attack. And then we've got his Knife Fighter, which is his more melee attack. So let's look at them both one by one. So in Huntsman, this side here, he's got a ranged 4 attack with 7 attack dice and 6 defensive dice. And then from a melee perspective, it's 6 attack dice and 5 defense dice as well. And we've got some expertise there with lots of stuff on. So that ranged expertise, 1 to 2 is becoming a crit and a auto damage. 3 is becoming a crit, a damage, and a dash as well. And 4+ is becoming 2 crits, a damage, and a free reposition as well out there. When you look at his melee, is 1 to 2 is becoming a hit. 3 becomes a crit and a hit, and then 4+ becoming 2 crits and a hit as well. And then lastly there, that defensive expertise, 1 becoming 1 block, 2 to 3 becoming 2 blocks and a heal, and 4+ becoming 2 blocks, a heal, and a dash as well. And if you mix up his defensive expertise with things like it's hard to compete with a Jedi, stuff like that, you're going to absolutely make the most of trying to either get further down this expertise combat tree here with your fails, turning your fails into expertise, or just getting natural blocks as well. Obviously, quite importantly, the leader of the batch isn't going to affect him. So when an allied clone trooper character, so he is not an allied clone trooper character, so it's everyone else except him, which is a bit of a shame, but not the end of the world. Indeed, because he's going to affect every other character in your squad. And then we've got his combat tree here. So combat tree, we've seen the look of this before. We are starting off in one of 2 places. So starting off with the top for 2 damage, or at the bottom for an exposed and a damage as well. Before then we come into the middle for 1 damage and a shove. And then we get a choice again. We either go back up to the top for 2 damage or down to the bottom for the strained and the pinned condition. Before we then go back into the middle for another damage and a shove. Followed by going up to the top again for 2 damage or down to the bottom for a reposition and 2 heals off as well. So you've got a couple of options there. You've got a lot of conditions along that bottom row. You can pop out an exposed, strained, and a pinned in 3 successes, which could be very, very nice. Or you can just go pure damage there along the top and just knock someone out for 8 and a couple of shoves if you do get all the way down to the end. But that is his more ranged stance card. Let's have a look at his more engaged stance card here. So here the attack and defense dice are completely switched around from what his previous were. So he's still a range 4 attack, but this time it is 6 attack offensively and 5 dice defensively for ranged attacks, 7 dice offensively and 6 dice defensively for melee attacks. And then if we look at his expertise here, so we've got his range expertise 1 to 2 becoming a hit and an auto damage, 3 becoming a crit and a hit, and 4+ becoming 2 crits and a hit as well. And then we've got his melee expertise here, so 1 to 2 becoming a crit and a shove, a crit and a dash, 3+ becoming 2 crits and a reposition, and 4+ becoming 2 crits, a pinned condition and a reposition as well. And defensively there, 1 becoming 1 block, 2 to 3 becoming 2 blocks and a heal, and 4+ becoming 2 blocks, a heal, and a dash as well. So that defensive expertise there is exactly the same on both sides. It is just your offensive expertise that is going to mix up and change slightly. And if we look down his combat tree here, so this one is slightly different. So we are starting off with 1 damage and a shove, followed by 2 damage, followed by a shove, a strained, and a damage as well. So his first 3 are always going to be the same. And then we either go along the top and get off a dash and a damage, followed by 2 damage and a heal, or we come down to the bottom for a reposition, a heal, a damage, and 2 heals as well. So you can go along that bottom tree for some more support and healing out to your compatriots, or along the top for that damage, some free additional movement, and some heal from there as well. So they are his stance cards. He is looking very cool. I think your abilities on there are probably going to outweigh your stance card, your free movement from enhanced tracker, your striking distance, your free movement you're giving out at the start of your activations. I think they've just got so much movement coming entirely. And it leads us to these 2 characters. So we have got Rey and Omega. So they are 4 points cost, the same 2 areas. So Fall of the Jedi and Reign of the Empire, bringing no force with them. They are CT 9903 Omega, and they are a secondary unit, as we kind of touched on before. And then let's get into their order card. So they also have Bad Batch, Clone Trooper, Galactic Republic, and Scoundrel as their tags. They have a stamina of 10 and a durability of 2 as well. They've got 1 tactics ability, 2 actives ability, and an innate ability alongside them. And then here, if we have a look at his tactics ability, or their tactics ability, I should say. As a bulldoze, at the start of this unit's activation, 1 character in this unit may dash. If it ends this movement within range 1 of 1 or more enemy characters, it may shove one of those characters. So you kind of run in, you're barging someone out of the way, things like that. And then we've got this action here. Ha 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 ha, yeah! That's my best Wrecker impression, which is going to cost 2 force. And there's also got that action ability keyword. So this is going to be one of your 2 actions. But 1 character in this unit may make a ranged attack. So this is one of your ways, another one of your ways of potentially getting off 2 attacks in the same turn, which is going to be very nice, particularly if you're in the right place to really pull that off. And as we look at their stance cards, we'll see what that can bring with us. And we've got I Wasn't Sneaking, which is going to cost us 1 force. Choose an active objective within range 3 that you do not control, and an enemy unit that is contesting that objective. Roll 5 attack dice. The chosen unit suffers damage for each crit and hit in the roll. And then if the chosen unit was wounded by this effect, gain an additional momentum token. So this is I think this is going to be very cool for picking off that pesky, 1 or 2 health thing that you weren't able to get off in the last turn, but you are going to try and get off in this turn. 1 force to potentially get a wound off of one of your opponent's units, and 2 momentum tokens from it is going to be really good, really, really strong if you can pull it off and can absolutely swing things back in your way. And then we've got the muscle of the batch as that innate ability. So whilst this unit is not wounded, allied Bad Batch characters within range 3 have steadfast. And while this unit is not wounded, allied Clone Trooper characters within 3 and allied Scoundrel characters within 3 have protection. So you're popping this guy in the middle of the battlefield, whilst he's not wounded. You know, all of your other Bad Batch characters that are all going to be Clone Trooper characters are going to have steadfast and protection as well. Or you can just go and pop in with your Clone Trooper characters with your other Scoundrels, and they're all going to get protection alongside it as well. And I think, really interesting with this unit is they are obviously on that 1 base. So definitely, it's a bigger base, isn't it? It's the medium. I don't want to call it medium-sized base, but it's the larger of the 2 bases, not the single base. I call it a medium base because it would be a medium base in Marvel Crisis Protocol or something like that. But going to be on that same base, so you're not going to be able to split them up to make the most of their firing at different units or anything like that, which I also think is very cool because Wrecker is very protective of Omega throughout the entire TV series. So let's see if it says anything extra fun on here. Doesn't say anything too much. We just get into their stance cards. So these are another one of these units that have got 2 stance cards. So 3PO and R2D2, for example, have 2 stance cards as well. And it kind of distinguishes who's in charge for that particular plan of attack. So we've got a card that is more Wrecker and a card that is more Omega as well. But let's start off with Wrecker. So his card is called Boom. And it is a ranged 5, 6 dice attack and 5 dice defensively, and 6 dice in melee and 5 dice defensively as well. And if we look at that expertise there, so combined fires with ranged expertise, 1 is becoming 2 hits. 2 to 3 becoming a crit and 2 hits, and 4+ becoming 2 crits and a hit as well. And then his melee expertise there, Brawn and Brains, 1 to 2 becoming a crit and a hit, 3+ becoming a crit, a hit, and a damage as well. And then interestingly, in this defensive expertise here, 1 to 2 becomes a heal, and 3+ becomes a block and a heal. So I think this is probably one of the first characters that hasn't got a block on that first line of their defensive expertise. So a little bit more open to taking some damage in this form, but also a little bit more punchier in this form than Omega when we look at her card there. And then from a order perspective, we've got 1 damage and a pinned condition is where we're starting off down the combat tree before we go up to the top for a damage and a dash, a damage and a shove, a damage and a dash, and a damage and a shove. So a lot of free movement coming out of there as well. Or we come down to the bottom for 2 damage, the damage and the strain condition followed up by 2 damage as well. So we've got a maximum of 6 damage coming on this side along this bottom tree, or 5 up to the top with a load of movement out of it as well. That's what happens when Wrecker's in charge. But when Omega's in charge, things are slightly different. So you can see here, combat tree is a lot different. We do have the exact same attack and defense dice though. So 6 dice for an attack and 5 dice defensively, regardless of what's going on. And we can see here that we've got some different expertise along the bottom as well. Other than that middle Brains and Brawn, I'm going to keep calling it Brains and Brawn even though I know it's Brawn and Brains, is exactly the same for both units. But for when Omega's in charge, this ranged expertise, 1 becomes an auto damage, 2 to 3 becomes a hit and a damage, and 4+ becomes a crit and 2 damage. And then on this defensive expertise here, 1 to 2 becoming a block and turn a crit to a hit, and 3+ becoming a block, turn a crit to a fail, and get a free dash out of it as well. And if we were to pair it up with Hunter, just as a reminder, no, that's when you use attacks, not defenses. So, ignore me. Ignore what I'm about to say there. But let's have a look at the order tree on this side. So, we were either starting at the top with the disarmed condition and a damage, or coming down to the bottom for the exposed condition and a damage. before we go into the middle there for a damage and a shove. And then we have one of 3 choices to make. We can go up to the top for the strained condition and a damage, 2 heals along the middle, or the pinned condition and a damage along the bottom. And then from there we go into the middle for 2 damage, followed up by a damage and a reposition lastly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 damage on this side again. So your maximum damage output is the same if you're both Wrecker in charge or if you're Omega in charge. Although to get to the end here, you are going to need 5 successes down your combat tree to get to that 6 damage instead of Wrecker here, who would just need 4. So that is everything that we've seen for these guys. So that is the start of the Bad Batch. There is a load of other kind of flavour text here. But yeah, I don't think, unfortunately, Wrecker and Omega are going to see that much play when we get into having a look at Crosshair, which we're going to take a look at right now. But that is, yeah, Hunter and Wrecker there. Let's have a look then at these guys. So we've then got Crosshair, Echo, and Tech. So this is, without going into too many spoilers, Crosshair from Season 1, the start of the Bad Batch, when they are, like, the Bad Batch properly. No spoilers for that. Watch the Bad Batch if you wanna get into it. But this is probably like your end of the Clone Wars era Bad Batch. So we've got some cool little bits on there. Obviously, Echo is plugged into whatever that is, a security terminal type thing. We've got Crosshair taking cover behind this damaged, demolished building, and we've got Tech there on the left hand side. So this is my other thing. If anyone from AMG is watching, this is part of my pet hate. Look at the size of this photo here compared to the size of this photo here. Can we just make the? Wouldn't it be lovely if all the photos were the same size? You've taken the feedback on board from all the other photos on here. They're all the same size. But yeah, we've still got this one here. I know that probably no one from AMG is watching, but if you are, that's my only bit of critique about this page. So let's get into Crosshair. This page here. So this is where things start to now get interesting, because we can see that Crosshair is a 4 points cost character, and unlike Wrecker, Omega, and Hunter, he only has the symbol here for Fall of the Jedi. Yeah, for Fall of the Jedi. So unlike the other guys, you're not necessarily going to be able to run Crosshair with your later units, which leads into the fact that this is Crosshair from the very end of the Clone Wars, as opposed to the Crosshair that we see nowadays. But he is also 4 points cost, the exact same cost as your Wrecker and Omega as well. And then here's Crosshair, CT 9904, and is a secondary unit as well. We take a look at any of his stuff here. Nothing there other than his unit card here. So he has got the tags of Bad Batch, Clone Trooper, and Galactic Republic as well, with a stamina of 9, a durability of 2. And in here we've got almost one of every ability. We've got a tactics, active, reactive, and innate ability as well. So we'll start off there with his tactics ability, Trick Shot. So at the start of this unit's activation, if no characters in this unit are engaged, choose an enemy unit in line of sight. The chosen unit suffers 1 damage and removes all of its hunker tokens. That is very, very nice. You are 1 auto damage. Nothing you can stop it. Has someone got away in the last turn from you, you haven't done that 1 extra piece of damage that you need to do to get that wound off. Yeah, there you go. There's your 1. Can't stop it. Or alternatively, you've got one of those. Maybe you're going up against pesky clones who love hunker tokens, or your opponent is just going hunker, hunker, hunker. You're playing against Ewoks or something like that who are hunker crazy at the minute. Just remove them all. Tough. You don't get to benefit from them anymore, which is very, very nice. Obviously you do have to be in line of sight, so you do have to be able to see, or not technically see them, but you need to be able to draw line of sight to your enemy, so it's not just anyone on the battlefield, but it's going to be very cool. And also, this is the other part that's maybe not so good about it, is at the start of your activation. So if you don't have line of sight to anyone, it's not like you can move to get line of sight and do it. It's just one of those at the start of the activation. But you might have 1 damage you're just going to ping on someone the very first turn of the game when you draw Crosshair, because you can see someone. Very, very nice. Other than that, we've then got his active ability here, Find the Shot. One forced, each character in this unit may climb. If any characters climb, this unit immediately makes a focus action. And we'll see why. Focuses are very cool in a minute. But yeah, this is essentially your free move. It's going to cost you one force from there. And it's going to be very helpful to get that focus action for free, because you can then use focus action for Dead Eye of the Batch. We'll get into it in a minute. But we've then got Relax. I'll handle this as his reactive ability. When a unit in this character makes a range attack as part of a combat action, before dice are rolled, this unit may use this ability. During the attack, each time the attacker would resolve a heal, it may instead remove one condition from an allied unit that is engaged with the defending character. Right, let's try and break that down a little bit, because there is a bit of a mouthful in there. So, when a character in this unit makes a ranged attack as part of a combat action, before dice are rolled, this unit may use this ability. So you have to declare it before you've rolled any of your dice or anything like that. So during this attack, each time the attacker would resolve a heal, which is Crosshair, it may instead choose to remove one condition from an allied unit that is engaged with the defending character. Cool, we get it. So, we're just going to jump ahead slightly and have a look at Crosshair's combat tree. So we can see we've got this bottom row here that is going to give us 3 heals if we go all the way up to the 6th success. But in 3 and 4, we've got 1 heal each as well. So, if you are, let's just say that Crosshair is shooting at a clone trooper, and that clone trooper is engaged with Hunter, then what we can do is, instead of activating those heals, we can take one condition off of Hunter because he is engaged with the defending character, which is very nice, and a very cool way to support your supporting cast, really. You don't want to take that, you don't want to lose the strain as part of your move, or you don't want to take the disarmed off or anything like that. You want to be able to just slap straight away. Don't get a heal on, particularly if you're playing Crosshair as a sniper, he's still at the back. That's going to be very nice. That is absolutely going to be very nice. And then finally, we've got the Dead Eye of the Batch. So characters in this unit have Sharpshooter 2, and when a character in this unit makes a range attack, the target does not benefit from cover. So you're using Find the Shot there, that active ability. You're getting a focus action out of it. You then combine that with Sharpshooter 2 for an additional 3 dice that you're going to be rolling, along with not giving your opponent cover. It's going to be absolutely lovely. And when we look at his attack pool here, we can see that the more dice we roll, just the better it's going to be. The absolutely better it's going to be. So, looking here at his stance guard, he's got Bad Play. It is a ranged 5, 7 dice attack, 5 dice defensively, or melee, 5 dice offensively, 5 dice defensively as well. And then we've got that expertise, so Fire Puncher, Sniper Rifle, 1 becoming a crit, 2 to 3 becoming 2 crits and an auto damage, and 4+ becoming 2 crits and a reposition as well. Or we can go defensive in melee even for advanced combat training, 1 to 2 becoming 2 hits and 3+ becoming 2 crits. So even here, this defensive expert, not defensive, I keep calling it defensive, I mean melee. This melee expertise is actually really, really strong as well. And he's got his modified commando armor defensively. So 1 to 2 becoming a block and turn a crit into a hit. 3 becoming 2 blocks and turn a crit to a hit. And 4+ becoming 2 blocks and a crit to a hit. And also get a free heal out of it as well. And if we modify and plus all of that with Hunters here, so Leader of the Batch. If the character is a bad batch, you can change one of your failures to a hit or a expertise result. We are probably going to be wanting to change that to the expertise. You turn that 1 from a 1 to a 2 or a 3 to a 4 to get those extra benefits, the additional crits, the damage, the reposition, anything like that. It is going to be very nice and very, very cool to pull off on the table. And then if we take a look there down his combat tree. So we are starting off with 2 damage, followed by the damage and the pinned condition. And then we've got our first choice to make. So we can either go along the top for a damage, a shove, an additional damage, and 2 shoves for a total of 5. 5 steps down your tree. Or we come down to that bottom for the heal and 2 damage, a heal and a damage, a reposition and a damage, and a heal and a damage as well. And you obviously you're going to potentially plus that relax. I'll handle this ability with all of that heals as well. The nice thing is that this heal doesn't relax. I'll handle this doesn't have to be every time you would resolve the heal ability. It is each time you would resolve it, you may choose to remove one of that instead. So you can actually go, well, actually, my character's only got one condition on it that I want to remove, so I'm going to remove that one. My other heals are going to come on to Crosshair or someone with range 2 of him, which is going to be, yeah, very nice. I think Crosshair is going to be awesome, and I think, personally, I think just from the look of it, he is going to be better than Omega and Wrecker, and probably also depends a little bit on how you want to play and who else you take, because obviously we've seen Hunter is someone who likes to get up close and personal, and it depends if your preference is, do you want to have someone who then stands back, controls those back couple of objectives, but also can provide you with fire support, or do you want to play, we're going to go melee. I'm going to take Wrecker and Omega, who are also going to run and get up close and personal with people as well. So yeah, we've gone through this stuff, loads of other text here, feel free to read through it at your own leisure. I'm not going to spend time on it. We then get into our final guys here, Echo and Tech. So they are 4 points cost, and we've gone back to our lovely Fall of the Jedi and Reign of the Empire as our eras. Zero Force, again coming from them, Echo and Tech. So we've got CT 1409 and CT 9902, and they are supporting unit with 2 characters here. So I guess the only time you're potentially not going to take Crosshair is if you are running the era that is Reign of the Empire, and you're not going to take this Crosshair, you're going to take Wrecker and Omega maybe instead, if you want to play a more thematic list or something like that. And who knows, we know that there is another Crosshair coming down the line, so won't spoil what it's going to be about, but you can go and find it out there. It was revealed at Adepticon this year, so you can go and have a look at that. Who knows, maybe that's going to be from this era, and maybe that's going to have similar tags anyway. You might just be able to kind of plug and play them with one another. So we've got Echo and Tech here. They have the exact same tags. It's a Bad Batch, Clone Trooper, Galactic Republic, and Scoundrel as well. They've got a stamina of 7, a durability of 2, and they have 2 active abilities, a reactive ability, and an innate ability as well. So looking at their abilities there, so the first active ability, fight smarter, not harder. 1 force, choose an active objective within range 3 that is controlled by an opposing player and remove one of this unit's hunger tokens. If any were removed, the opposing players remove the opposing player's control token from the chosen objective. That is very nice. So you are going to, I think with Echo and Tech here, you're going to want to give them a lot of hunkers, because hunkers give them a lot of benefits outside of just their normal defensive expertise it gives you. But yeah, you're taking hunkers off here to remove control tokens. This is very, very, very cool for a one. Ultimately costs 1 force to remove that thing. You're tying with someone you haven't been able to control it. They control it now. Boom, just take it off. Take it off at the cost of a hunker token, and you can get a hunker token pretty easily from Keep a Low Profile, their next ability. So also costing 1 force. Each character needs to make dash. If any characters dash, this unit gains hunker. I'm surprised that it's called Keep a Low Profile. I thought it might be called is it Defensive Maneuvers. I think it's what the clones have. But basically every clone from the core set, like the 501st, has this ability. But it's not called Keep a Low Profile. I think it's called Defensive Maneuver. Give them a dash. If they dash, they get hunker. But you can also pair this really nicely with people then like Captain Rex, who give out movement to clone troopers, give out hunker tokens to clone troopers, stuff like that. And we've got that reactivity there, forward planning. So when an allied primary unit within range 4 or an allied secondary unit within range 4 starts its activation, this unit may use this ability. The activating unit may remove 1 condition from itself. So what we're seeing in this box here is we've got a load of ways to remove conditions outside of your turn. So we've got Crosshair, who's relax, I'll handle this, potentially going to be removing conditions and bits like that. We've got Echo and Tech here, who are going to be helping guys remove conditions from themselves. And it's when they start their activation as well, so it'll be the first thing they do. So you're getting rid of that pin before you want to use your tactic ability to move, you're getting rid of the strained, anything like that, which is very nice. And we've got that final innate ability, the brains of the batch. So while this unit has one or more hunker tokens, characters in this unit add 1 die to their attack and defense rolls. So this is why you're going to want them to keep that hunker token pretty much permanently, because it's just going to give them extra dice. The more dice, not only defensively but also offensively, the absolute better. You pair them with the leader of the batch from Hunter, and the more dice you're rolling, the more chances you've got of turning one of your fails into a crit, into a hit or an expertise, or anything like that. So yeah, that is going to be Echo and Tech. And then we've got here just one order card, one stance card even, for these two. So it isn't one of those duplicate ones that we've seen like some of the other guys have got. But we've got military intelligence. So this is a ranged 4, 6 dice attack with 5 dice defensively, or a melee 6 dice attack with 4 dice defensively. So you're not going to want to get them too close to people. From there, you're going to be wanting to fight at more of a distance from them. And then we've got expertise here. So 1 to 2 becoming a crit, 3 becoming a crit and a hit, 4 plus becoming a crit, a hit, and an auto damage as well. And then we've got their melee expertise, 1 to 2 becoming a damage, 3 becoming a hit and a damage, and 4 plus becoming a crit and a damage as well. And finally, they've got their modified commando order as well, 1 to 2 becoming a block, 3 plus becoming 2 blocks and a heal, with their defensive expertise as well. And if we look down their combat tree, so they are starting off with 1 strained and 1 damage before they have a choice to make. They're going up to the top for a shove, a damage, the pinned condition, a damage, a shove, a damage, before finishing off with the active ability as number 5. Or they come along the bottom for some more heals. So heal and a damage, reposition and a damage, heal and a damage, following up with the active ability last of all. So they're only putting out 4 damage a turn, but also potentially throwing out some conditions, throwing out some heals, and if they do get down to the active ability, they can either use this fight smarter, not harder, or keep a low profile. And I think what's quite nice about having 2 options here is that if you decide that you're going to use one at the start of your turn, you've then got the ability to use the other one if you do get down to this 5th success here. So you might want to keep a low profile, to dash, to gain the hunker token, to give them more dice to their attack rolls. And then you can, instead of rolling 6, you're rolling 7, and let's say you roll incredibly, and you've mixed in with, you've got hunters, not re-roll, but changing one of your fails to an expertise to get you that, and a crit and a hit instead of just a crit. And you do get down to 7, you do get that option then, of if you're going to use that second active ability, instead of just having the 1 and having used it right at the start. So, yeah, that is, where are we going back to here? That is everything from these guys here. So everything is 4 points cost, which I think is quite cool and a nice way to be able to run absolutely everything. So we've got a 4 points cost support, 2 4 points cost secondaries, and then an 8 squad points leader. And if we take a look at their box on the Asmodee website, so they are here, and it's their RRP of $59.99. You can probably find them for somewhere around the 45 to 50 mark. I think the cheapest I've seen them is 36, 37, something like that, from a couple of different game shops. But yeah, like 20% off is probably where you're going to be looking at it. And obviously you do get the 5 models, and then here we can see, don't know if I can get any closer on this. Not without looking great, but we see here we've got all the different head options. So you can see we've got helmets and non-helmets for all 5 of the characters from the batch. And obviously Omega is the only one there that is not any different. And there's just some cooler up-close minis here. So yeah, very cool to get them out. I'm really looking forward to getting them on the table. I'm looking forward to just running the Bad Batch and being able to take some clones and stuff like that with one of your Jedis to go alongside them and reenact some favourite things from the Clone Wars or anything like that. That is everything. Bit of a longer video, so yeah, if you are still around here at this point, thanks very much for checking it out. Do let me know your thoughts down below in the comments if you think, is it something you're looking forward to? Is it something you're going to pass up on? Which secondary character do you think you're going to take? You're going to run Wrecker and Omega more? Do you think you're going to run Crosshair more? Or is it actually something, you've never seen the Bad Batch, you've got absolutely no idea who these people are, and could quite happily pass up on them. So yeah, do let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you very much. Check out the other Shatterpoint content on the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.